Hi guys, here for a topic that we don't really like to talk about a whole lot, but I basically had a very unsafe firearms experience today, and it happened with my new Smith & Wesson M&P9 Pro Series pistol. First time I've taken it out today, and we had a catastrophic failure on this weapon. It was operating normally. We were just plinking around. There was nothing out of the ordinary going on. And we had, obviously, some problems. It cycled a 17-round magazine of 9mm ammunition with no problem. And this is the magazine during which the event happened. As you can see, it's dirty. That is because on the last round of this magazine, when I fired this weapon, we're not entirely sure what happened. There are a lot of different possibilities that could have led to this, but needless to say, Smith & Wesson will be contacted about this issue. And I did sustain some injuries, and it was, quite frankly, a very scary experience. The best way I can describe it is I fired a round normally, normal recoil, nothing out of the ordinary, and believe it or not, actually hit the target plate that I was aiming for.
That never happens.
It worked, so nothing to lead me to be apprehensive about firing the next round. When I pressed the trigger and the trigger broke for the last round in this particular magazine, the weapon essentially exploded. It basically felt like somebody had slapped both my hands very, very, very hard, and I was not entirely sure what had happened. I was basically staring at the back of the firearm, and I could see at first that it was slightly out of battery. I wasn't sure what had happened, but there was a lot of recoil, and I had that sharp pain. So I uttered some profanities and kept it pointed downrange for what seemed like an eternity. It was probably only about 10 or 15 seconds, the recommended time to keep it pointed downrange before you inspect to see what kind of a problem you had. But the first thing I noticed after I was holding it for a while was that I had blood running down my hand. So they're minor injuries, but at the time I was quite nervous. As you can see, there was a piece of metal dug out of here at the ER, a smaller metal fragment that you can see they dug out at the ER as well. Some swelling and bruising on this thumb, which is actually, believe it or not, the most painful thing that I experienced was this, not the cuts or anything. But so I had to have a tetanus shot and a couple of x-rays to identify where the metal pieces were. It's really not visible now, but there was a minor, and luckily I was wearing eye protection and hearing protection. A slight, small cut here that did not contain any metal or plastic, although they didn't x-ray my head, so maybe there is some in there. And a slight contusion back here as well, near my eye. I'm not sure where. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. But either way, so two very slight facial injuries. I'm perfectly okay. I am a little bit rattled still, and this has been honestly close to about 7 hours ago that this happened. But like I said, it was very scary. I am not afraid to admit that I was quite skittish for a while after this. And what we can see essentially with it is obviously a massive break in the polymer frame. The breech is sealed. We're unable to move the slide, and we're not going to do so because obviously this is going to go back to Smith & Wesson for them to investigate it and find out what happened. They would obviously know better than I would, but the back strap has been slightly removed or damaged and is not flush the way it should be. The frame is cracked all the way around on the grip. As you can see, there's a lot of separation between where the magazine release is. The magazine release is actually still functional, although when this incident occurred, that magazine did fly out of the bottom of the gun. And one thing that I'm just very happy, or very lucky at least, to see is that there was no other ammunition in the magazine if there was some kind of downward force exerted on it. So luckily there wasn't any risk of other rounds being set off by whatever happened with this. But clearly it was a very unsafe situation. There's also a nice crack in the polymer near the beaver tail. You can see as well. This is a new pistol. This is the first time I fired it. This was literally the 34th round that had been through this handgun. Like I said, we were using factory ammunition. I had done a little bit of a warm-up before I shot this with my Glock 26. Fired about 20 rounds, 2 magazines through it with no issues. And this fired the first magazine through it with no problem, and all but the last round in the second magazine with no problem. It was being fired just practicing shooting fundamentals, probably 5 or 6 seconds on average in between each shot. Just really trying to experience this gun for the first time, so I was absolutely taking it slow. So we're just not sure what happened. The extractor is obviously missing from the firearm. We were not able to recover that. The pins that are holding the trigger group in are no longer present, or yes, they are. The pins that are holding the trigger group in are still there, but obviously the polymer has separated from that. The slide stop is very clearly bent outward. The trigger bar appears to be possibly dented, but I don't think so. I think it is actually maybe even within spec. So we're not sure, but we did catch a piece of casing back here, and the weapon will not go into or out of, even more so out of battery. You can see there's a piece of the case missing.
It's also
there.
present on the bottom too. The entire, basically this circumference from where the locking lugs are all the way around to the back side of the other locking lug is missing. So
May be able to.
I can't really get it there. Like you can't see it really down in there very well from the camera.
I can. There's essentially, it appears to have sheared the back off of the case. Most of the back off of the case. We're not, so we can't say definitively what exactly caused this. It seems very unlikely that it would be caused by ammunition. And like I said, we're using not something that we bought from Billy Bob down the road with his little hand reloading kit or whatever. But sorry, I'm still a little nervous about the whole situation. But so we can't really condemn or exonerate Smith & Wesson at this point. So we're just gonna have to see how their customer service is and see what they want to do with me. As far as it's clearly not repairable, but see what they would do as far as a replacement. I did have some medical bills too. I have to take an antibiotic, got a tetanus shot, 2 X-rays. My blood pressure is probably permanently elevated. I have a little bit of asshole puckering syndrome, which still has not quite dissipated. I'm still experiencing a good bit of asshole pucker. But it was honestly, it was a very scary experience, and I'm just happy that my injuries are not in any way, at least as far as I can tell, permanent or life-threatening. But it has me a little bit on edge. And my biggest thing is, if this slide had not remained on the firearm and had somehow detached, I was holding it at eye level, I could have taken a substantial piece of metal, moving at a substantial velocity to my face, and that's not something that I think they make eye protection that would be able to withstand that. So
yeah, we're gonna have to start making you wear like a welding helmet or something.
I may have to get a serious thing like that one kid in what was it, Little Giants, that was wrapped up in the foam. But,
well, the important thing, like we said, is that your injuries were minor.
Yes.
They were a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
and your weapon is is destroyed.
And a financial loss, definitely, at least for now.
Yeah.
I would absolutely expect that Smith & Wesson would replace this.
Yeah, and we'll have an update with that.
Yeah, we will let you know how the customer service experience goes. And this could potentially be something where there is a serious defect in this design, and you may see a recall as a result of this. We're not sure.
Right.
Yeah,
So at this time, everything's up in the air. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I think we're done with this check-in. More news to come on this busted M&P.
And a busted wombat.